All in all, sexual intimacy is created and designed by God for us. Yes, sex is meant to produce children, the glorious gift of children, but it's more than just children. So I want to have a dialogue for the next little bit. So I have asked John and Connie would come up here, and I've got chairs for you, and we're going to use them as a science experiment almost, if you will, and to help sort of bring about some healthy dialogue, healthy conversation. I want us to engage in a dialogue. Churches don't do this enough in the past, and so we're going to change that. While they're kind of getting set up and getting ready, I want to share with you, I have some really, really great resources on marriage and sexuality that are biblical, that are godly. And this one is called The Act of Marriage. It's a great one. There's only one part about this book that I don't recommend, and I'll tell you in private, but other than that, it's a great, awesome book. It's a great resource. And then there's another one called Crazy Good Sex. Yep, that's the title of it. By a man that I revere. It's the man that produced and his wife produced the Symbis training, which is what I now use to prepare every couple for marriage. It's Dr. and Les and Leslie Parrott. Crazy Good Sex. It's an awesome book, very simple, easy to read. Sexual Intimacy and Marriage by William Cutrer. Great book, and also a lady named Sandra Guan. And they're both out of Dallas, out of Texas, and just a great overview of what sexual intimacy was meant for by God's standard. And then probably my favorite, it's an older book, but not everything that's new is better. And so it's called Intended for Pleasure by a guy named Ed Wheat. This is an incredible book. And so some of us need to go backwards and do a crash course on love and intimacy. And there's diagrams and everything in there. So seriously, there are. This is probably the best chapter in the whole book. And I've got it marked up and everything. But it's called Prescription for Intimacy. Much of what I brought out here from the Song of Solomon was factored by this. So, John and Connie, thank you for being our examples today. Here's what I'll say about John and Connie, because I know that David admitted to. They're not up here because they have it all figured out, right? Because they're perfect and everything. They're just the people who seemed willing enough to answer my question, hey, would you be willing to go live with this? And they said yes. They may not understand what they're getting into. And so I don't want anybody to look at them and think, man, they've got it all figured out and perfect, but they seem to have a lot figured out. And they've been together, it will be 20 years coming up here pretty quickly. And so they're really just a cross-section, if you will, of some dialogue that I think you guys, as married husbands and wives, should take back into your bedroom tonight. And this is going to be clean and pretty and glorious, but it might be uncomfortable. So here we go. I've got some questions that I have asked you guys to consider, to look at. And if you just answer as honestly and openly as you so desire to do, and know that in some way, God and the Holy Spirit will minister to all of us who are listening based on your experiences and things. So both of you would just take a few minutes to describe for us growing up, carefully, the atmosphere of intimacy and sexuality in your home. What was the conversation of sex, if there was one? Whoever would like to go.
Well, I came from a very loving, protective Christian home. When the church doors were open, we were there. I cannot stress how wonderful my raising was, but sex, on the other hand, was more of a closed subject. My sister and I were blessed with such wonderful parents. The affection there was a kiss on the top of the forehead with Mom and Dad, and Tammy and I as well. And that just showed the love and protection that Dad had for us girls and my mother. And but like I said, sex was just not an open topic. And my sister came to me when I was about 13 and gave me some details about things, but that's as far as it went. And I have two people here that can witness that.
Well, I, on the other hand,
Let me get that mic on.
my folks, many of you know, they were the affectionate. To this day, my mom and dad have been married 48 years. You'll still see them walking down the street holding hands. Every time they leave, my dad kisses my mom goodbye. He'll tell her he loves her. So the affection was always there. And yes, my dad, one day in front of my mom, did ask me, we need to talk about the birds and the bees. And I told him at that time, I'm good.
Fair enough. So, the reason I asked that question is I think what you've heard described here is picturesque of probably most homes in the South in American Christian homes. And so I think it's pretty common. Now, I know there's exceptions to that, but because of that, because it wasn't really openly talked about, we get off on the wrong foot. And so, what I want to ask next is the second question. Share with us As a result of your upbringing, the experiences you've had as adults, the good things you've experienced, the bad things, and whatever, share with us what strengths you two have in the area of intimacy and love, keeping in mind that we're...
I guess mine's going to be pretty short on this because I couldn't find really what I want to say, but you always got to flirt. It don't make any difference whether you've been married a year or 20 years or 40 years. We still flirt with each other today, and it takes two people to flirt. It's got to work both ways. So
I've heard it said, always be dating your spouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, never give up on the dating. Yeah. Okay, I'll know about that. All right, Connie.
We all have cell phones. Shoot them a text. Tell them you love them. There ain't a day that goes by that I probably get 20 to 30 a day. I love you. Or I'll send him the famous little quote from Love Is. Or when I'm in the kitchen, he'll come in there and he'll pat me on the hiney. Or before he leaves, I'll rub his shoulders and tell him how much I appreciate him. But there is no reason why you can't tell each other throughout the day how much you appreciate and love them. And we do that all the time.
That's good. Appreciation is really key, so that you're conveying that you matter to me on a regular basis. I think sometimes we forget that. I think we forget those details.
And when we have arguments, the rubbing is a little harder,
Sure.
or the pat,
Yeah.
because there's always those times.
Sure.
Then you get to thinking about it. Okay, I love you, honey. Sorry.
Well, let me ask this, this next question here that I have for you. In light of the strength that you've learned, that you've developed over the years, how did you come to the point where you realized, I need to keep flirting with my wife? So how did this intimacy develop over the years? There may be some of us sitting out here that haven't ever really practiced these things. Maybe we're struggling. So share with us, just in your own experience, how these strengths and intimacy over the years have really developed. Maybe even how they've changed some too,
Well, I think that Connie and I are stronger now than we've been in years. Kind of hints to my testimony, but we cherish all of our time together. If we get the chance to, if I'm home, she's not got 27 cakes going out, we do something. We have a date night. We try to have a date night at least once a week, whether it's leaving the house and going out to eat, going to a movie, or just staying home. And I'll cook supper and she chokes it down, and then we watch a movie. But the selfishness that Pastor was talking about is something that I've learned. You can't be selfish. Everything I try to do now, I look at her first. There's something that I was always told: never go to bed mad. Always go to bed happy, and if you are mad, don't go to bed.
I have made our bedroom a sanctuary. It is full of candles. It has got a light color in there. It's not a place for your devices. Shut that phone off. Leave them in the other room. Don't be scrolling through Instagram or Facebook or whatever you got. Leave it in the other room. That's right. It doesn't belong there. Between candles and whatever you have to have, silky sheets, whatever, just relax and enjoy conversation. Your bedroom is a place for conversation, sex, and sleeping. And you will have that bond with that spouse if you do that. And I have learned and learned and learned. And that bedroom is the first thing that I always like to do because I fix it up just like a garden of love.
That's good. I hear a lot of just intentional. It's intentional. This isn't what just happens. You have to really make an effort to make these things. I love that. It's great principles to follow. So then here's the next logical question that I had was, in dialogue with you two kind of about some of these things, have you had these open kind of conversations? This is a very open conversation here, but have you had these kind of open conversations, or has it been something that more just sort of happened, and just kind of just sort of naturally fell that way? Because I imagine that there's some here that probably haven't had a lot of these conversations, who maybe need some encouragement on what it would be to have that. So what have you learned about intimacy in nearly 20 years? And have you dialogued about it together, or has it just kind of happened? Have you learned? So however you answer that, go for it.
Yeah, we've had plenty of conversations, some good, some bad. As ever married, yeah, some intense, yeah. as guys, you know, we like I said, we don't think of our spouse first all the time. We had about 5 years ago had to have a conversation as men, and we grow older, and it happens to all of us, whether you want to admit it or not. We have what we call testosterone. When it starts dropping after the age of 30, then everything starts slowing down. You don't have the drive anymore to be intimate. It's just not there. So 5 years ago, I went and had mine tested when it's supposed to run about 600 or 700. Mine was at 260. So, which is, nothing works. Nowadays, to medicine, the doctors have advanced this so much that I take a shot once a month, and she gives it to me, so don't make sure you keep her happy that day. But it's made a difference. Not only does testosterone hurt in the bedroom, it kills your mood, no matter what kind of mood. She can attest. There's days that I've just been a butt to her because I'm not in the right frame of mind.
It's amazing our chemicals in our body, God has made us uniquely. And so I want to just add an echo, a word to that. It's okay to address these things with concerns. So
it makes a huge difference.
I appreciate you sharing that with us. There's probably someone sitting here probably going, hey, we need to check that out. So.
If you're guys, I've had several buddies of mine that's went in and had tested since that I've talked about it, and they were low. So there's not just shots. There's creams. The first one they give me was a cream, but if you apply that cream, your wife and kids cannot touch you. They cannot touch wherever you apply that cream. It affects them in a different way.
There are multiple opportunities, things that you can do. So.
Shots are usually what everybody goes to because it's like that, and it's a half a cc to a cc. That's all it takes. It's just a little.
Appreciate you sharing that. I think that's important to hear in this conversation. So, Connie, how about you? What's your?
Well, to balance that out, and I'm older than him, quite a bit older than him, and yes, I am, and so I balance that out. It's not just always the physical, sexual intimacy. It's that just sitting there and having conversation with him, eye to eye, TV off, muted, or whatever, phones left away, whether it's in the living room and you can sit there and do that, or in the bedroom, it doesn't matter. But just to let him know that it doesn't have to be that. We can sit there and talk and just tell each other how much we appreciate and what they've done, or something that they've done that day in particular. Just like waking up and fixing my cup of coffee. I can smell it. Oh yeah, I'm up. So anyway, or I'll go over to my bake shop and he's got all my dishes done. Or whatever it is. It's not just always the physical connection there. It's the one-on-one maybe conversation just to let him know that it's okay. It's not getting to the finish line. That's what we're here for. We're not doing that. So.
That's good.
And go to bed at the same time. And I'm world's worst about that too.
And guys, always the complimenting. She'll deny it. She's the most harshest person about herself. I always compliment her. She's never heard me say anything like, that badonkadon's getting a little wide. So.
I'm glad, because our conversation would be drastically different if you had.
My neck is like a tower. Is that what you're
Yeah, you got to culturalize, contextualize your statements to your mate. So, no, these are good. So let me kind of bring us home with these. Thinking about today's message, these 3 principles that Solomon has taught us. Let me ask you these questions. In practical terms, how have you two been able to establish a greater intimacy first by employing that selflessness? John, you talked a little bit about that. You both have, but employing selflessness, right? So how is that built? Share what you have there.
Myself, I've just made sure she's first priority. I don't worry about myself. I worry about her. That's my main goal, is to take care of her first.
You've got to take the I out of marriage. It's we. And when we die to self, we ultimately bring forth in our marriage the resurrection in action. So you've got to get out of your comfort zone and do something that they like to do, and vice versa. Just take that selflessness completely out. It's giving to them, and that's my number 1 priority.
That's good. That's good. What about, have you been able to establish intimacy by enjoying the senses that God gave you? Carefully.
All right, guys.
This is why we took the little ears out. Go ahead.
Now and then you have to spice things up. Don't get in a routine. One of the things that sometimes drives her crazy is we go to bed rubbing her back. Just the feel of her skin. She has very soft, silky skin. Her hair is the same way. That to me gives me just as much pleasure. And most of the time, she's glad that she's getting a back rub.
That's good. You're employing the same thing that Solomon did with his bride. So, Connie, how about you?
Well, I kind of broke it down. That's why I used a page and a half on the census. But as women,
I need to copy those notes for some of us.
hearing, talk with each other. You've got to talk. You've got to communicate. Put on music. If you don't want to talk that much, put on music. Sit there and look at each other and just, whatever. But tell each other how you feel. Sight. Women don't go to bed in a black facial green mask with, curlers in your hair and an old raggedy nightie. Just wait. After you get to bed with him and visit and whatever you do, conversate, make love, whatever you're doing, then go back in there and get your makeup off. But just don't go in there, all, I'm worn out, just leave me alone. You've got to show that connection there with him. Smell. Leave the cologne and the perfume in the bathroom. Our bodies emit pheromones, and we don't need anything else. I mean, yes, us women like to put on cologne and smell good, foo-foo, whatever you would call it, deodorant, but we think we've got to have that. But leave that in the bathroom or countertop, wherever you got it, and go to bed. And I guarantee you, just whatever you put off, your spouse will smell that, and that's just an instant intimacy, right? I mean, it's a connection. Taste. Experiment, okay? Go out to a romantic dinner, but take dessert home with you. Use it in the bedroom every now and then, you never know. Peanut butter pie or, chocolate-covered strawberries. We've made banana splits. So it's fun.
Back to the spicing things up.
Do not, and we love Scentsy, do we not? We love Scentsy, okay? Don't put Scentsy baked cookies in your bedroom. Let's do more like vanilla musk or sandalwood, not fruity smells. Let's do a more of a mild vanilla. Even lavender is relaxing. So, yeah, did I cover all 5 senses? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, touch. Touch, the most important one. Okay. Touching. Probably, just like you said, rubbing me. I'm constantly either, tapping him on the shoulder. Close your eyes. Let him, and like the pastor said, this is your #1 guide to sexual instruction right here. I started reading this Bible a long, long time ago. I sit here and I Bible journal and I write notes over and over and over. I didn't realize how sexual it is. And you can learn so much. You don't have to go to Priscilla's. You don't have to go to Christine's. You don't have to go anywhere. You can just open this book up and learn the book and what God has provided for us, because it's a gift from God. Sex is a gift from God. And so we need to explore that in every which way. But the touching is important. Girls, I know that society thinks we've got to be this perfect model, but no. Our guys love us, and they just want us to relax and enjoy the moment.
And guys, remember, it's not all about touch. There's a mental intimacy too. I know for us that's what we want, but you got to remember them. They're not always about touch.
It's a multifaceted, a lot of components that go in together to build a good intimacy. So, really, the last thing I have here, I'll put it this way: in embracing God's will for marriage love versus what Hollywood has said or what movies or books have said. Describe for us how you've been able to establish that now that, especially now that God has really become front and center. So, just kind of your final closing thoughts that you guys have.
For me, it's you got to have God in the marriage. For years we didn't, and we struggled. I struggled big time. I appreciate Connie, and I've told Pastor this. She knows the Bible a lot better than a lot of people think. She is very, very knowledgeable in it, 10 times better than what I'll ever be. She journals in it. There's a lot of times that she's been doing journaled already, and then we come to church on Sunday, and Pastor will have it up there, the same thing she journaled about. She is very, very smart on the Bible. But just keeping God in first in the marriage.
Those that are not in a relationship, I can't appreciate enough how my folks raised me that sex is for marriage. You wait. You have got your whole life to enjoy that gift from God. So wait until you're married. And those of us that are, enjoy what God has given us.
Absolutely. Any final closing thoughts? This is great, guys. This is a great job.
You had one more question on there.
We'll give it to them.
I don't have it with me. I just really answered.
Okay.
I answered.
Well, then give us the answer. That's the question.
As far as men, don't just think of yourselves. All the honeydews that they ask you to do them with a smile, and guys reap the benefits. That's one way to look at it. Be helpful. It's just not our job as a husband to go to work and then go to the couch, cook, do laundry. I'm guilty of those. Have a date night. Like I said, you've got to do that. There's young kids out there needing a little extra money, babysitter, grandpas, grandmas. The alone time. You got to have the alone time. Lose the macho man. It'll do you any good anymore. 70s are gone. Close your mouth and open your ears. I've been told that more than once by my beautiful wife.
And don't be thinking while we're trying to tell you something.
That's the other one, yeah.
Hang on, can you say it again? I was trying to think of something to say.
And guys, be romantic. They do appreciate that. Mine, she loves French. Valentine's Day, I took her to a new French restaurant in Edmond, and 2 hours at this place. And I was still hungry when I left, but
And overdrawn.
But then to a movie, it's you don't have to go fancy on everything, but just you planning it yourself tells them a lot. I think the only other thing I'd say is intimacy for a marriage is a huge role for men. So, but we have to respect her and earn it.
That's right. We have to show that continuously. So let me do this. Can we just give them a round of applause? This was good.